Hey everybody, Jason here. It's been a long time since I uploaded a video. Since the end of RPG Day 2019, that was my last video. So it's been almost a month. Almost a full month. Things have just been crazy. Life has been crazy. All kinds of just life stuff getting in the way. But I've been meaning, actually, to record a video for like 2 weeks now. Because I've had something I wanted to talk about, but I kept forgetting my phone at home. I've got a different phone that I record my videos on, an older phone. I got an old phone I don't use, and then I got my regular cell phone. Anyway, so the thing I had been wanting to talk about for a while now is my anybody who has followed this channel for very long probably knows that when it comes to old school D&D, or just D&D in general, I'm not really a big fan of classes, and I am not a huge fan of levels. Levels are okay, I guess. Classes, I can give or take. I understand them. And plus you can multi-class, so I guess that's another reason why I'm not real big on them. Like, if you can go do other things, what's the point in multi classes? Anyway, I get it though. It works. It works for what it is. They're okay. But I'm also not a big fan of old school D&D thief skills, like the percentile based skills and old school like basic D&D, classic D&D. Got something in the back of my car making noise. I don't know what it is. However, I've really in the past month or two had a huge desire to go back to basic D&D via the Rules Cyclopedia, because I mentioned it I think a few times in RPG Day 2019, and I really do think that it's a one-stop shop for like everything for your campaign. It's got a setting, all the monsters, all the treasure, all the classes, all the rules, hex maps, hex crawling, dungeon crawling, role-playing encounters, magic, artifacts, gods. It's everything you need to play D&D. Oh, I forget. I'm sorry, to go back a step. One of the other things that I was not a huge fan of was race as class. But, it's one of those things, I guess. It's one of those things where it's like a weird limitation. Like, you probably never see elves be anything other than like a fighter or a wizard. You probably, in old school fantasy and stuff. Oh man, that sun is really bad, sorry. Old school fantasy, you never really see elves in the classical trope do anything more than cast spells and wield swords and stuff. You don't see scoundrels and rogues, and you generally, as far as I can tell, don't see a lot of elvish clerics and things. So I get why that trope exists. It's just not something I'm fond of. To me, it feels very limiting. Like, I don't like the idea that a dwarf can't be a wizard if it wanted to. However, I've never played one. I've never had the desire to play one. But, it's just odd that you're putting a limitation on somebody. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But, so I've been really wanting to go back lately and revisit the Rules Cyclopedia. And that includes thief skills, racist class, all those old school tropes. And the reason being is that I'm a person of balance, typically. I think there's a yin and yang in everything, and I'm starting to see a little bit of I guess, unbalance in terms of like what characters and stuff are able to do in 5th edition D&D. And this goes for all versions of D&D, really. Past 2nd edition, 3rd, 4th, 5th, Pathfinder, and some other games. You get to the point to where, and here's just an example. So, say we're playing our game, and we need somebody to sneak quietly, do some sort of stealth operation. So either the ranger or the bard is the one who attempts to do the sorry, I'm going through a school zone 20 miles an hour and this lady's riding my ass. So your ranger or your bard attempts to do the thief thing because he's got the highest stealth skill, and the rogue just kind of sits back and does nothing. And then you need to do a history check or something, and then the bard or the rogue goes to do the check because they have the highest skill, and your wizard or whoever is the actual character whose background or whatever is in history, or that's like a story element of their character is a history. Or basically you got people so each class has a role. There's a defined role for classes, like healing is for clerics. That's another good one, like clerics. My wife is calling. Let me pause this. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. My wife had called me on the phone. So anyway, so classes exist for the one purpose, I guess, of a class existing is excuse me, that they help define roles. Like the rogue or the thief back in the day did all your sneaky stuff. It would sneak down the hallways, climb the walls, go through the windows, pick the locks, thief things. That's why I had thief skills. Your fighter did most of the fighting and tanking, and it had that best armor class and did the most damage and used all the different weapons. Your cleric was your healer, and lots of clerics focused on like religion and a little bit of history, and then your wizards did some history skills and arcana skills and things like that. They were your knowledge based classes. Like their intelligence was high, so they were smart, they knew about things. If you wanted to find out some tactics versus a monster, you might go to your fighter, and they would probably do things like, we should do this versus this monster and this and that, because they're the ones that fight the monsters. Wizards you might be able to go to once in a while because they have high intelligence and may have researched monsters and things like that. But anyway, so the roles were pretty defined as to what characters could do. Nowadays, with any character, with the way 5th edition set up, the roles are a little less defined. The roles are more defined in terms of powers and what power sets you get, rather than skill sets and ways to play your character. As far as like, you can say, yeah, my character is a big history buff and loves history and this and that, and you can drop points into it. But then another character could be like, well, I've got extra points left over, I guess I'll just drop him in history. And then that character has a higher history score than your other actual history buff because of the way the stats fall, the way proficiencies fall, things like that. Which is all on how you build your character. I understand that, but it seems like there's, another example. Let me back up another second. Another example is, I had an idea. Me personally, I had an idea for how to solve or to tackle a certain situation with some of my ranger abilities, just to try and bring things into play. Like we don't use a lot of some of our class skills and class abilities. Well, I was like, well, let's just change it up a little bit. I said, instead of just, whatever, we'll formulate a plan that involves a couple characters. We'll have a couple characters go and do a few things as far as like stay over here and watch guard and watch for certain people to walk by, and then I'll come by and make contact with you, and we'll use some hand signals or whatever to figure something out. It's like a little thing. And so then we'll follow this character out into the forest, but we'll stay back X amount of yards, and I'll use my tracking ability and make sure we stay on place. We're trying to get a spot for each character to try and shine in this little operation we were putting together. And then we sat here for like a half an hour discussing this big plan. So the time comes for the plan to happen, and another character just busts out with, "Oh yeah, I'll just have my familiar follow him. That way, and I can see through his eyes and hear everything, and all those other rolls are unneeded. I'll just take care of it all real easily, and we won't have to make any rolls." And I'm like, what the fuck, man? That was real shitty. Like, yeah, we can do that, but what's the fun in that? That just takes the fun out of. There's no stakes. What if we botch or bungle this mission up, or the chance of failure drastically goes down, and that's like, that's not very fun, Plus, we'd spent a half an hour plotting this thing out, and it was just like, so it gets to the point to where certain characters, like, everybody can do everything, which isn't necessarily a bad thing within reason, within limit, but as it is right now in 5th edition, it's just power gaming, really. I know you can choose to play a certain way that doesn't involve power gaming, but I believe that when you go back and play certain systems, yeah, you can game the system, I guess, but certain systems are built in certain ways that help limit a player's ability to game the system. That power gaming can exist in any system, there's no doubt about that, but certain games, I think, due to the nature of the mechanics of the game, can help limit how much that happens. And I think that old school basic D&D may be an answer to helping cut back on scaling that back a little bit, not eliminating it, but scaling it back, especially with like thief skills, which again, like I said, I've always not been a big fan of thief skills. You run into certain problems, like at lower level, like low levels, your thief skills are so damn low that you're almost always going to fail, which sucks. Or if you don't have a thief in your group, then how do you run? How do you deal with people sneaking or whatever? And then if you were like, oh, we'll just make a dex check, well, then that's probably a much higher success rate for a non-thief to make a dex check than for a thief to make a stealth check with his thief abilities at first level. So there's a lot of weird things that might pop up in play. However, all that being said, I think that maybe me going back and revisiting some things that I'm not a big fan of, I might find that are more beneficial than me being so close-minded about them in my 20 plus years of gaming, 25 years of gaming that I've done, that maybe I'm being too harsh, too critical, too close-minded about, because I've gotten into such a modern mindset of freedom. Like how free is too free? You know what I mean? That type of thing. Like, if everybody can do everything, then what makes you unique? You know what I'm saying? So I'm really you know, I really would love to play Castles and Crusades. I think that system has a really unique way of not letting people to be too free, but also being free, I guess. That's a good way of saying it. And the system is very customizable with its siege engine system. And I've had the books for a long time. I've had the Player's Handbook for, gosh, since the second or third printing. And I also have the most recent 7th printing. I mean, I got that second or third printing way back when it first came out. Just never had a chance to play it. Anyway, I'm at work. Maybe I'll finish this video later. Maybe I'll revisit this video. But anyway, those are just some of the thoughts I've been having. And a lot of the things that I don't like, or say that I don't like, such as racist class, thief skills, classes in general, things like that. Maybe I need to revisit and rethink. Maybe there was a reason why I loved them when I was younger. I might still be a bigger fan of them than I originally thought. So anyway, I'm at work. I'm going to get in, and thanks for watching. Sorry it's been so dead on my channel lately. It seems to be a recurring theme for me. I run out of ideas to talk about pretty fast. So anyway, taking a trip to Michigan this weekend, so I don't know if I'll record anything. And anyway, we'll see you guys later. Peace.